Hi, welcome to this demo video. My name is Rafi Brill. I'm the product manager for SAP River, and in this video I'll be showing you how to build an application in SAP River, a new language from SAP. In this first of a three-part series, I'll be showing you how to build your data definition for the application. The demo itself is based on a scenario called River Airlines. We'll be gradually building a very simple application that handles flights and allows passengers to book flights on seats. And you can see the data model for the application right here on the screen. In this first step, we'll focus on the basic workflow for creating a River application, so how you would create, share, and activate your program. And we will focus on data definition, which is typically the first step in building an application, and we will also show you how to create some test or seed data so that you can test your application. Let us switch to the HANA Studio. We're in the SAP HANA development perspective, and the first thing we're going to do is to open a new project, and the project type is a River project, and we're going to give it a name called River Flights. And you can see that I have some default code here displayed for me by the studio, but I don't really want this code, so I'm going to select this and I'm going to paste some code which I created earlier in a separate step. And this code is the data definition for our River Flights application. You can see that there are 4 entities and there are 2 types, and in fact if we bring up the outline, I think it's easier to see this. So we have flight, we have seat, we have passenger and city, and we have 2 types, seat type and seat status. These are enumerated types, so we have values within that type. And you can see that we also have associations. So for example, each flight is associated with a departure city and an arrival city. Similarly, each seat is associated with a flight. And what we have is what we call a Backlink Association. So we can navigate from the flight to the set of seats which are associated with that flight. So we can essentially ask a question like, give me the full set of seats for my flight. So this is my very basic initial application. The next thing I'd like to do is share that to the HANA repository. I'm going to pick my workspace, and the administrator has already set up for me a package which I can use on the server to save my application. So I'm going to pick that, and then I'm going to click Finish. Of course I haven't saved, so the studio will save the application for me. And now my application is essentially committed to the HANA repository. So there is a copy of it residing on HANA. The next thing I'd like to do is activate my application. So I click the Activate button. It's going to activate my RDL program as well as the Access app file, which is necessary for my application to run. And now you can see that I have this little gold descriptor on the icon. This indicates to me that my application is compiled and essentially it's live. So now my application is available and I can test it. Just to show you what's actually happened is if I go to the relevant system and look in the catalog, you will see that I now have a new schema called SAP River Flights. And in this schema, there is a set of tables. Now these tables were not there previously. These are tables that River set up for me automatically upon compilation time, and these are the tables that are essentially underpin my application. They are now part of my flights application. So let's go back to my code, and now I'd like to test my application, but before that I'd like to create some test data. So I could, of course, go to an OData client and start using OData calls to populate my data, but there is a tool which makes this somewhat easier, and it's called the Data Preview tool. So if I click on City and I click on the tool, let's move it down here, you can see that I get a preview of my city entities. Essentially, this is almost like an automatically generated UI client application which resides within the HANA Studio. It understands the semantics of my app, so it understands the fields or the elements within the city entity and allows me to do various things. For example, I could click Create, and I could create a new instance of a city. So I happen to live in Tel Aviv, so let's pick Tel Aviv as the first city and let's click Create. And now you can see a new row in the table. You can think of it as a row in the table of city. You can think of it as a conceptual instance of the entity Tel Aviv. So whichever aspect makes more sense to you, they're both analogous with each other. Let's just create another city. So let's pick Las Vegas. Okay, so now we have two cities in our database, Tel Aviv and Las Vegas. You can see that River automatically assigned a key. It generated a key element for that entity, and it assigned a key value, and that is because I didn't specify a key in my application. Had I specified a key, then that would be the key that I would see in this particular tool. So now that we've generated city, let's go to flight and do the same thing. Now I could, of course, go to the preview tool and click Create in a similar fashion to the step I just did with the city. However, you can see there's a lot of fields in flight, and this is rather cumbersome. So there's another tool called the Data Generation tool. And when I click that, I get this wizard, and the structure of the flight entity is laid out for me, so it understands the various elements and types. And if I just want very, very random data, completely random data, I can click Next, Next, and get a set of records for random data. But I can also, if I so choose, slightly refine the data. So for example, I'd like the opened flag to be false, because I actually will be adding in the next demo an action called open flights, which will change the status to true, as well as doing some other things which you'll see in a few minutes. So let's fix that to false. Similarly, I'd like to set the departure city and arrival city as a fixed value. So if I were to leave this as random, it would randomly pick a city from one of the cities in the table. But in this case, I'd like the flights to be from Tel Aviv to Las Vegas. And I can choose the number of records to generate. In this case, I'm happy with 10. So I click Next. I get a nice preview of the data which is about to be inserted in my table. And when I click Next, you see I get an indication that 10 records have been uploaded. And when I click Finish, I can see a preview of that data in my table. And what's quite nice about this feature is that each of these associations is in fact a link, a hyperlink. And I can click on that, and I can navigate across the association to the remote entity, in this case the city. So I can check that in fact my departure city is Tel Aviv, and of course I can navigate back to the flights entity. So that completes the first step in our demo. So just to recap, in this first demo we showed you how to create, share and activate your River project. We then added some data definition logic to your application, essentially created the data model for the application. And then we showed you how to create some test or seed data, either via data entry or via automatic data generation, which allows you to then test your application, and we'll be showing you that in the next step. So thank you very much, and please make sure you look out for the second video, which, as I said, is about adding business logic or actions to your River application.